The top stories. Opposition weighs in on another downgrade. Man shot dead in St. Philip. And 4 Bajans in Windies test squad. Welcome to Nation News for Tuesday, June the 3rd, 2014. Moody's credit rating agency has cast further doubt on the government's ability to meet its deficit and debt reduction targets. The agency has downgraded Barbados 3 notches and signaled that further descent was likely by suggesting that the outlook was negative. Opposition leader Mia Motley has pounced on this latest news by saying Barbadians need to sit up and take stock. Moody's cited concerns over the increase in fiscal deficit and debt ratios and the expectation of continued challenges to putting the fiscal house in order, the cornerstone of which is the retrenchment of thousands of public sector workers. In a statement, Ms. Motley said government had been warned about the dangers of its actions but had not changed course.
How many more Barbadian workers, families and businesses must be sacrificed before we recognize that all Barbadians must stand up and call a spade a spade? The definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Our economy is in crisis, and no one has confidence in this government's policies nor in its ability to lead us out of the crisis. The deafening silence of Barbadians is the greatest ally to this government's incompetence.
A man has been shot dead at Lynch's in St. Philip. His name has been given as Derek Hunt, who is reported to have been in a scuffle with another man. Police are investigating. Employees at the Sanitation Service Authority have staged a brief walkout in support of a colleague who is reported to have been sacked. Some staff members gathered in the yard of the SSA's Wrigley St. Michael offices around 7:30, but returned to work about 90 minutes later following assurances from management that the matter would be resolved. The worker was later reinstated. A wooden house at Well Gap, Rockdundo, St. Michael has been extensively damaged by fire. Fire officials report the insured house was owned by Dwayne Innes, who lived there with his wife Susan and their 2 children. 2 tenders under the command of Divisional Officer Lloydson Phillips responded to the early afternoon call. Party man Mikey is marking his 10th year in Cropova by extending his range to social commentary. The singer, part of the hit group Soco Cartel, is known for such sounds as Grass Skirt and We Loose. Mikey, who will be joining the Big Show tent this year, has already released one of his commentaries, while the other, Time for We, will drop next Wednesday. The entertainer also gave a media briefing and update on Team Mikey charity ventures, which include a food drive and scholarship.
You know, with things a little hard in the economy, we will not be doing the branded t-shirts this year for sale this year. We will be doing silicone branded wristbands. Now, these wristbands are significantly cheaper and will be a lot more economical, and hopefully that means a lot more persons can purchase, and we should have possibly even more funds to distribute to the charities that we're working with.
With all the concerns being raised about the cost of tuition at UWI, it may surprise you that only 8 Barbadians turned up at the Brazilian embassy to hear about the subsidized university education the South American nation is offering. Head of the Cultural Department at the embassy, Diane Brown, says not enough Barbadian students are taking advantage of the undergraduate and graduate exchange programs. Tuition is free, with students having to foot the bill for housing and personal expenses only. The Minister of the Environment has labeled Barbados a trendsetter in climate change prevention, signaling the preservation of its coastline as worthy of emulation by other Caribbean nations. Dr. Dennis Lowe said Barbados had been protecting its coastline with boardwalks and other structures to lessen the effects of sea level rise and erratic weather. However, he said preserving buildings along the coast from weather systems continues to be a challenge. Dr. Lowe was speaking Monday at a tree planting ceremony at St. Christopher Primary School ahead of World Environment Day on Thursday.
We have demonstrated our capacity relative to coastal infrastructure. We have been doing a leading job in rehabilitating our coastlines, putting infrastructure in place like our boardwalks and other types of structures to scale back the impact of climate change by sea level rise, erratic weather that results in flooding, and those kinds of things.
We now go to Natasha Beckles for our regular Tuesday commentary.
Every year, and a few times during the year, Barbadians are warned about the dangers of keeping their surroundings untidy, about how to avoid having their properties become a breeding ground for mosquitoes. We all know this can lead to illnesses like dengue, but we ignore the warnings, apparently unconcerned about the dangers. Now there's a new disease, chikungunya, a new word to most of us. It was in some islands and Guyana and other places, but not here. Well, we are travelers going here and there. Barbados is a holiday destination with people coming from near and far. And so, this new virus seems to be on our shores. And it's just as bad as dengue or even worse. Therefore, please, let's all keep our surroundings clean and free of the Aedes aegypti mosquito.
In sport, 4 Barbadians are in the 13-man West Indies cricket squad for the first test against New Zealand starting on Sunday at Sabina Park in Jamaica. Kimar Roach, Suleiman Ben, Kirk Edwards and Craig Brathwaite will be lining up under new captain Dennis Ramdin. Brathwaite is included as cover for Chris Gayle, who remains an injury doubt, though it will likely take a lot for him to miss his 100th test before his home crowd. One other player of note in the squad is the returning Jerome Taylor, whose last test appearance was in 2009. The teams will play 3 tests and 2 2020 matches. The third test will now be played in Barbados after having been switched from Guyana because of a dispute with the authorities there. Meanwhile, the annual West Indies Player Awards on Thursday will be carried live on the sports channel Sportsmax. So tune in if you want to know the Caribbean male and female cricketers of the year and other awards. And finally, a woman in Thailand turned herself in with an illegal gun at a police station, saying she would rather be behind bars than spend another day with the husband she's lived with for 32 years. She got her wish. At least in the initial stage, police charged her with owning an illegal gun and carrying it without permission. She was detained without bail. The 54-year-old woman told the police to arrest her because she was fed up staying with her husband because he was emotionally unstable. She said she had thought of killing herself with a gun to end the problem, but she loved her children and grandchildren, so going to jail was an alternative because she would still be able to see her loved ones. That's Nation News for Tuesday. You can keep up to date on nationnews.com, Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel.